The children of our nation know little to nothing about 9/11, but the Tunnel to Towers 9/11 Institute is righting this wrong by helping teachers educate kids in kindergarten through 12th grade. Their nonfiction, first-person accounts are told through videos and the Discovering Heroes book series. The Institute offers full, scripted curriculum units with background for teachers, a speakers bureau for classrooms, a mobile exhibit that's an interactive museum with 9/11 artifacts and FDNY guides. Donate $11 a month and amplify your impact by donating your car or land. Go to T2T.org.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
All right. For those of you who know Phil Collins and Genesis, you can make an argument that this is Genesis' best song. I think I'm with you. I love Tonight, but here it comes. Yeah, this is definitely 1981. It went to number 1. And the first to reach the top 10 on the U.S. Billboard 200 for Genesis. So good for them. Now, why am I playing Phil Collins right now? Because it's his birthday. 75 years old. And Phil has been not feeling well. Clearly, he does concerts still. Talk about a commitment to craft. This guy can barely stand. He'll go on stage and sit and sing for 2.5 hours. But one of the most iconic, unique voices in rock and roll. Easily, bar none. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. We're not here to talk about rock, of course, but I like to go off on little tangents, as you know. We're going to do sports here a little bit. Obviously, the Super Bowl. I have thoughts on that. Not so much on the X's and O's. I think the Seahawks win. I think they win kind of easily, which I hesitate to do because the underdogs tend to do well in the Super Bowl, but great defense. The fact that a Jets quarterback could beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl is just too delicious to pass up. But overall, I just got to talk about the uniforms because the Seahawks uniforms are profoundly horrible. Navy and neon green. There's no college team that looks as horrible as they do. And they used to have these iconic, royal blue. You had this almost a Cowboys thing going on as far as the silver with it. Just beautiful uniform. Steve Largent, Jim Zorn, and now they've done the Nike thing, unfortunately. And obviously the Patriots know better. Used to be red, white, and blue because those are Patriot colors. Now they're like navy and like a magenta, whatever. So based on uniforms alone, I want the Patriots to win-ish. But at the same time, Seahawks win that game easily. All right, I got it all out of my system. I got Genesis, Phil Collins, birthday, Super Bowl. We'll talk more about the Super Bowl next week as far as commercials. And will the national anthem go over or under as far as, you can bet this stuff, believe it or not. You go over or under on whether the national anthem being performed goes over or under. And I'm telling you, almost every time that thing goes over. Why? Because this performer, who's in front of 125 million people live and probably hundreds of millions more in viral clips afterwards, well, guess what? This is your big opportunity. So you're going to go long. You're going to stretch every note. You're going to show your chops over on the national anthem, and tails never fails on the coin toss, which isn't exactly true. Anyway, lots to talk about here, people. I mean, so much to talk about. Where shall we start? I'm going to go with, because this thing is really incredible to me as far as what is happening in Fulton County, Georgia. You thought I was going to go Minnesota, didn't you? Don Lemon, trust me, that's coming. Fulton County is where Atlanta, Georgia basically is situation. Actually, basically, it is. But Fulton County overall in the 2020 election had the oddest stuff going on. I'm going to be generous here and CYA to a certain extent. But the fact that there was a pipe burst at 1 o'clock in the morning when Donald Trump was leading big time in Georgia, which is a red state, which has gone red for many, many presidential elections. He's up big, and then suddenly a pipe burst right over election headquarters. Go figure. Wow, what are the odds, right? And it's November, so it wasn't cold. Like, why are pipes bursting right over election headquarters? Well, they stopped the vote, and then sure enough, when you wake up in the morning, and then Joe Biden is gaining, and then all the mail-in votes come in, and then before you know it, he wins Georgia, Joe Biden does, scare quotes, by 11,000 votes. Arizona, same thing. Really sketchy stuff goes on there. And Biden trailing in Arizona on election night, which I get. Mail-in votes are more blue than red by far at the time. 2024 changed that. But just some weird stuff goes on. And the fact that now the Trump administration went into, the FBI did, the Fulton County election headquarters and seized a whole bunch of stuff, that is a big deal. Not me saying it, not a lawyer. Watched a lot of LA Law, Few Good Men, one of my favorite movies. The Firm, not bad, not great. But the point is that Jonathan Turley, who I respect more than anybody in the legal profession, especially those who talk on TV, Jonathan is on my team on Fox News, thank God. And here he is explaining why this is a very big deal. And Democrats should be very, very worried. And cut number 32. Go.
All right, Jonathan, you heard this all day from Democrats and others. It's 6 years later, machine recount, 2 recounts, a machine count, confirming the results of the election. A lot of eye rolling by Democrats and media types. So what's the point in going back?
Well, that's a very good question, but we do have a court order here. So a judge found that there was probable cause to allow the seizure of this material. And that's just not given for any reason. The judge had to conclude that there was a basis for this. We don't know what caused this search. We will have to see. You know, when the election was occurring, many of us said at the time that we did not see evidence of mass fraud, and that certainly is still the case. But there was a lot of frustration by people who were going to court to try to get access to these ballots. They were largely refused in many states. And so this is a very significant step that these are now in control of the FBI and can be reviewed. Now, whether there's anything there, it's hard to tell. We have to see what this judge felt was a basis for this search, and it's quite an extensive search at that.
Exactly. And if you heard me sneeze, well, I am fighting a cold. So if my voice sounds slightly off, like everybody else, it's been below zero, and eventually you got to fight these things. The point is that Turley is exactly right on that. And I just think there's so much, when you look at COVID and what it did in terms of what it can create in terms of fraud, just overall, Minnesota, California, New York, things that could be done by politicians with billions of dollars given to them that otherwise may have some scrutiny, some accountability. Well, during COVID, none of that existed. It was like, here you go, and we trust you. That was it on everything. When it came to schools, when it came to healthcare, everything. So could something have happened in Georgia or Arizona or other states that decided that election? Because if Donald Trump wins Georgia, Arizona, Wisconsin, 3 states that were determined by less than 1 percentage point, he would have been reelected. Now, all that said, I'll say this. I think it was better that Trump won in 2024 than 2020, because in 2020, he still didn't control the House or the Senate. And if that happened, he would have been president, but completely and totally hamstrung as far as his agenda and what he wanted to do. And he didn't have the cabinet around him that he has in 2024. So almost, and I remember this from Wildwood, New Jersey, I went down for Trump's rally. I flew in the Trump plane, had Wendy's on the way down, thought there'd be McDonald's. No McDonald's at LaGuardia Airport to feed the Trump plane, apparently. No matter. You're on the Trump plane. There was a golden seatbelt, which was really cool. Got to talk to the president for a little bit. This was during the campaign in May of 2024. And the point is that during that rally, I was taking notes. I was sitting next to Lawrence Taylor and Otis Anderson, which was really cool. But there I am, my little notepad. And I'm looking for things that I hadn't heard before from Trump for the book that may be unique, because when you read a book, you want to learn different things, not stuff you already know. And Trump says at one point, he says, you don't have to imagine what a Hillary Clinton presidency would be like, as it would have been if she won in 2016, or a Joe Biden presidency in 2020. Now, we knew what that was, but his point was that we saw what happened with Hillary in terms of her losing. Therefore, we never knew what a Hillary Clinton presidency would be like. We saw, however, what a Biden presidency would be like. He said, once you see that, once you see what Democrats will do if they have complete power, then maybe you'll appreciate more of the things I did during my first term. And he is exactly right about that. And the second term, I think by all accounts, is better than the first term already, only after 1 year. Anyway, let's leave it here, by the way, because this really is incredible. As far as Joe Scarborough is not a genuinely authentic person, we'll put it that way. He'll go wherever the wind blows. And here he is on, of course, wow, look at that. Jimmy Kimmel, go figure. This is where all of MSNBC stars go to. They don't care about Emmys. They don't care about Peabodys, about any sort of like big sort of award. If you get invited on Kimmel, boy, you ride at the Golden Palace. Here's Cut 19 sharing what I think is a fake story, quite frankly, on how he called Trump after the assassination attempt. And I'll give you the punchline at the end of it because it's pretty obvious. Cut 19, go.
It's funny. I hadn't talked to him for 7 years. And after the assassination attempt, I called him up. I said, I've known him for 25 years. I called him up and I said, I'm glad you're okay. Yeah. Obviously a frightening time. So I'll be praying for your safety and your health, even if, at the time, even if I'm calling you a fascist every day on the show, even though I disagree with you, I'm still praying for your health and your safety and that, you'll move in the right direction.
Dude. It's so hard to have the name Joe these days. It used to be so cool. Like, oh, Joe Concha, Joe Pesci. Joe Concha, Joe Torre. Joe Concha, Joe DiMaggio. Joe Concha, Joe Piscopo. I don't care. Joe was a cool name, and now I'm associated with Biden and Scarborough. Now, what was wrong with that statement? He said, I'm praying for your safety, even though I was calling you a fascist every day on my show. Do you understand, moron, that when you call somebody a fascist every day on national television, maybe some freak is going to come out and try to kill the guy? That maybe your words led to that? Sorry. This pisses me off, obviously, more than anything. I called you a fascist every day for 10 years, and then I prayed for your safety. Well, maybe you helped lead to this, dude. I'm not saying that somebody listening to Joe Scarborough automatically grabbed a gun and tried to kill Donald Trump, but he didn't help. That's certainly for sure. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. This is Joe Concha. This is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Back with so much more. Trust me, in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
This National Foster Care Month, Marine Toys for Tots is providing hope to children who need it most. Staff Sergeant James Caldwell, who grew up in foster care himself, shares that while handing out gifts at a Toys for Tots distribution event, a little girl looked up at him, reached into her bag, pulled out a stuffed animal and said, "Someone needs to make sure you get a toy too." That simple gesture embodies the heart of Marine Toys for Tots, ensuring every child, including those in foster care, experiences the kindness that can transform their future. Visit toysfortots.org today.
Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. They go perfectly with music, podcasts, and welcome back to the show. Even nature sounds. Oh, and the thing where someone crinkles tissue and whispers at you. Hello. Look, I'm not here to judge what you listen to. I'm here to judge you for not eating Reese's while you listen to it. Reese's. Actually, go back to the nature sounds. Nice. Yeah, that's really nice.
With Venmo Stash, a toggle on one hand and ordering a ride in the other means you're stacking cash back. With Venmo Stash, get up to 5% cash back when you pick a bundle of your favorite brands. Earn more cash when you do more with Stash. Venmo Stash terms and exclusions apply. Max $100 cash back per month. See terms at venmo.me/stash terms.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
Now, if you watch the Reagan movie, actually this was used, the video, because it was an anti-Reagan video, basically. Oh, no, what's Joe doing playing this on his song? You know what? I don't look into the meaning of songs. I just like the beat and the sound. And this thing is great to work out to. Too many people. Making too many problems. They're talking about Reagan and the Republicans. I get it. Love to go around. Tell me why is the land of confusion, as I screw up those words. All right, anyway, we're going to fade out Elias slowly. Went to number 4, I believe, on the U.S. charts in early 1987, which, again, it's like, oh, that wasn't that long ago. 39 years ago, people. If you want to feel really, really old. But what is not old? Actually, it's as old as time, is the fact that gold and silver keep going up. Up, surging. Now, this week, you got to look at the whole holistic performance of gold and silver over the last, let's say, 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years. Overall, gold and silver are surging. Gold recently hit $5,100 per ounce. That's like a record. And silver climbed above $110. With record debt, ongoing inflation, not too high, but still it's there, and global uncertainty, more investors are moving towards physical gold and silver than ever before. Some analysts are projecting gold could move towards $7,000 per ounce. I've seen many respected analysts say that. Silver forecasts above $300 or 3 times where it is now. Wow. So physical gold and silver are simple, real assets you can hold with no counterparty risk and a long history as a store of value. And many people don't realize gold and silver can be added to your IRA. Who knew? If you want to learn what's driving this move and whether precious metals may be right for you, call my friends at Goldline. They've been trusted since 1960 and offer free insured delivery for my listeners only. Goldline is offering an exclusive discount on historic American gold coins. Call 1-800-757-GOLD and mention Joe. That's me. That's 1-800-757-4653. All right, let's get to the fun, shall we? Or is it fun? You know, I really like this guy. This hurts to say this. I grew up listening to Springsteen. I did. I loved every song. And then even when he went solo, I still followed him there. But 2008, then he supports Obama. That's fine. I have no problem with that. Right? Sinatra supported Reagan. Like, there are people that are artists that go in one way or the other. I have no problem with that. But Springsteen is so pious about it and so condescending. And then obviously supported Hillary, performed during her rallies, then even during Kamala Harris's campaign, performed for her, but charged her $1 million. Dude, you're worth $1 billion. You got 127 acres in Colts Neck, New Jersey. Trust me, it's a beautiful place. It's right near the Jersey Shore. You couldn't do it as a freebie to save democracy from Hitler? No, of course not. Send the bill. So I'm not sure how genuine this is. Maybe it is. Maybe it's just a play on making himself feel better. But anyway, here's Springsteen doing an anti-ICE song that he wrote clearly in about 20 seconds. And then we're going to go to what Springsteen really was way back when we all loved him. This is cut number 6. Go.
We'll take our stand for this land. And the stranger in our midst.
Stranger.
Here in our home they killed and roamed.
Killed and roamed.
26.
I mean, come on. Stranger in our land. Killer in our midst. No, the killers are the people that entered this country illegally under the guy you supported, the auto pen. And then before that, Hillary Clinton. Then after that, Kamala Harris. You supported all that, Bruce. And now to evict these people who have raped and murdered and engaged in child trafficking and sex trafficking, you support keeping him there, apparently, because you wouldn't write a song like that otherwise to make yourself feel better. Anyway, let's leave here. Let's go to break because, you know, when I grew up, this was the Springsteen that I loved. He sang about a girl named Rosalita. Cut number 7. Go. Yeah! Jump a little lighter, senorita. Come sit by my fire. I just want to be your lover, ain't no lie. Rosie, you're my strong desire. All right. That's all I'm saying. All right, get back to that. I don't mind. All right, you want to be political, but at least be accurate. But that's Springsteen and so many artists, unfortunately. But, you know, when you go back and listen to an old Springsteen song or you watch a Ben Affleck or Matt Damon movie. The Rip is excellent, by the way, on Netflix. Just try to separate the two, because if you try to take a stance against everybody in Hollywood who's liberal, there's not much left outside of like John Voight, Scott Baio. Yeah, not a lot, you know. So if you want to be entertained, I understand the principle of it, but in the end, you just got to be like, all right, there are one people here as far as fictional and non-fictional, and you gotta separate the two. This is Joe Concha, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Back with the best in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show.
It'll be cold under zero tonight. Oh ho. All right. Happy birthday, Phil Collins. Genesis, one of the great bands I think of all time. I'm certain they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Anyway, somebody who should not be in the Journalist Hall of Fame is one Don Lemon, who I wanted to get to this, and now we're here. Boy, talk about a story custom made for this show. Here we are. Don Lemon has been an activist for many, many years, posing as an anchor on CNN for 17 years. This guy is the ultimate performance artist. He is a narcissist and obviously someone who might be the dumbest person on television, which really says a lot. And there's nothing to do with race, by the way, because Jim Acosta would put up there also neck and neck at last check. He is a white guy. Or I could put Nicole Wallace up there, white person. Joy Behar, white person. Margaret Brennan, CBS, white person. I'll go through the list. Has nothing to do with race and nothing to do with the fact of who he's sleeping with. Don Lemon is profoundly stupid and profoundly attention-starved. This guy goes to a church in Minneapolis in the middle of winter, leaves his lovely mansion on Oyster Bay in Long Island, $1 million on the water. Obviously, anything on the water in Long Island is worth millions of dollars, and has this Jedi-like mind trick where he knows exactly what church to go to in Minnesota, where a protest, where a church storming was going to happen. This guy, boy, talk about instincts. Forget Cronkite, Brinkley, Mudd, Koppel. No, this guy, he knows ahead of time, right? Like Nostradamus of journalism, exactly where this thing was going to go down. Unless, oh no, that's right. He was contacted by the organizers, said, what idiot can we get out here to follow us into a church, which obviously is illegal under the FACE Act, under the KKK Act, where you can't storm places of worship, private property, and then declare the First Amendment. It does not exist as far as that argument is concerned. And how we know Don Lemon was involved in all of this is the fact that at one point during this clip, you're going to hear this, Lemon tells his cameraman to shut off the camera before they storm the church to protect the people doing it. Now, any journalist would never do that. You're reporting on the story, right? Or are you part of the story? Are you part of the operation? The answer is B and C and not A in this case. If you're doing multiple choice, this is cut number 26. Go.
So they're getting the operation together again. This is an operation that is a secret that they invited folks out. I can't tell you what is going to happen, but you're going to watch it live unfold here on the Don Lemon Show.
Oh, great.
For this reason, it may look like MAGA coded.
MAGA coded.
But there's a reason they have so many white people here. I'm just going to be honest.
Oh, you racist.
The operation that they're doing today. It's important to have allies, as I said, white allies here.
White allies?
That is what I can say. I turned our camera off of them because they're giving some critical information.
Oh, critical information.
There we go. Everybody's ready to go.
Screw you, dude. I shut off the camera because there's critical information on the storming of a church. That's weird because as a journalist, I would think that you're there to report and inform the public, not shut off the camera to make sure that the people storming the church can do so without being caught. This is so open and shut, it's scary. And there are so many people in this industry that unfortunately I'm a part of. Fox News, awesome. We do a great job, and that's why we're number one by a country mile. Everybody else, screw you, including, by the way, Jim Acosta, who I mentioned before. The garbage journalist that he is, who's best friends with Don Lemon, of course. Well, he goes on his podcast from his kitchen because he also got fired from CNN, just like Don Lemon in Cut 25. And, of course, he says that Trump is going after Lemon because he is black. Oh, right. Cut number 25. Go.
And I'll say right now, I mean, Trump likes to with Don because Don is black. And we just need to say that, too. Trump is racist, and he's always attacked Don in racially loaded ways, calls him stupid and things like that. And it's disgraceful. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, the administration is racist. The entire administration, the MAGA agenda, their political agenda and their cultural agenda are racist.
Oh, right. Great. Great analysis, guys. Hey, Jim, did Donald Trump F with you when he called you out? Because the last check, you're as white as Wayne Gretzky. So, yeah, no. So don't bring race into this. But that's what we saw here at this point. Meanwhile, here's Joe Scarborough again, who we think Don Lemon's dumb. All right, let's see. I'll call the white guy that's on MSNBC probably dumber, if that's possible. Rock Bottom does have a basement. This is cut number 29, where Scarborough doesn't even know. He goes on national television on Bill Maher's show. Do a little prep, dude. All right, your ego isn't enough to sustain you in these situations. Doesn't know the difference between the FACE Act with the Faith Act. And this goes back and forth with Marjorie Taylor Greene, Timu MAGA. This is cut number 29. Go.
The people that went into the church, that were the protesters that went into the church, if under the Faith Act.
FACE Act.
If under the Faith Act.
FACE.
It's not faith.
Right.
FACE.
Oh,
face.
FACE. It's a federal law.
Oh, I thought it was, you've got to have faith because it was about church.
Well, the parishioners, the Christians have faith, and they were trying to have church, and Don Lemon and a bunch of activists came in and harassed them to the point children were crying.
Right. But what I'm saying is, whatever that act is, if it is the FACE Act or the Faith Act or the Fake Act, whatever act it is, I think the people that went in and disturb that church, if they want to prosecute them, then that's certainly, their right to consider that.
This guy gets paid something like $8 to $10 million and is making up acts called the Faith Act, between the FACE Act, between the Fake Act. I can't even begin to process the fact that Joe Scarborough has the same name as me. Can I be Jack? I've always wanted to be a Jack. Jack Concha. You know what? This is the Jack Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. I am now Jack. Thank you. Jacks are always cool. Jacks are successful. Jack Kennedy. I go through Jack Kemp. I'll go through 1,000 Jacks. I want to be Jack. Dad, I know you're listening. Change the name. can he authorize this? Can I authorize? I think I can. I legally want to change my name out of Joe because of the Joes that now I am associated with at this point. Meanwhile, of course, Jane Fonda has to weigh in on all of this. Oh, she spoke in Los Angeles outside of the place where Don Lemon was rightly arrested. And apparently she supports Don Lemon because her husband started CNN and Ted Turner wasn't even there when Don Lemon was hired. But whatever. Here's Hanoi Jane, cut number 24, go.
You want to say something? No. Okay. So I know Don Lemon. My husband created CNN, and I will fight for their right to speak, which is guaranteed in our Constitution.
Not quite.
They arrested the wrong Don. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My husband created CNN back in 1980. Don Lemon wasn't hired until the 2000s. I mean, was it enough when she supported the other side toward Vietnam? No, of course not. Here's Jane Fonda talking about how Don Lemon has a First Amendment right. No, not really. He can't go into a church under the FACE Act, not the Faith or the Fake Act, and exercise his First Amendment right for free speech as a so-called journalist. Finally, let's go to Joe Rogan with Andrew Wilson, who I'm a big fan of, and this guy is a podcaster. A lot of podcasters out there. I listen to a lot of podcasts. Trust me. And here, he basically comes down on exactly who Don Lemon is, and I can't use the words on this particular show. We beeped it out here, but you get the point. This is cut number 23. Go.
The other day, we were live, and it was Don Lemon, and he had showed up in Minnesota. And the first thing Don Lemon does, right? I hate Don Lemon, by the way, but the first thing he does...
He is one of the dumbest motherfuckers that has ever gotten on television.
He's terrible.
The dumbest ever to be on. I can't argue with Joe Rogan on that one. Certainly. Meanwhile, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who I know all you people out there listening, for the most part, think is a rhino, but he was a 2-term Republican governor of California, which on some level in the 21st century is kind of impressive. Trump-like in the sense where he came from the entertainment industry, and then, well, people liked his role in the Terminator and other movies, so they saw a strong figure who can make a good argument. I guess, that's good enough when you elect Gavin Newsom, for example, right? In other words, if you have somebody who could sell the role, then, all right, here we are. Anyway, Arnold goes on The View, and The View expects him to toe the line, which is ICE is the Gestapo, and therefore we are anti-ICE, and oh, by the way, let's let everybody in, whether you're illegal or legal. Now, Arnold came in legally, and you got to respect the fact that he understands the difference between the two. Unlike so many liberals and rhinos out there, here he is on cut 20, and at the end of this, you can't see it, but Sonny Hostin is grabbing his arm, begging him to stop making the argument, because this is something that obviously a race baiter like that could not agree with. Anyway, here's cut 20. Go.
But the key thing also is at the same time that we got to do things legal. That is the important thing, So you got to do things legal. And those people that are doing illegal things in America and that are foreigners, they are not smart. Because when you come to America, you're a guest. And you have to behave like a guest. Like when I go to someone's house and I'm a guest, then I will do everything I can. Keep things clean.
Exactly. You come into my house, you're not here, you're not invited, you better keep things clean. And many illegals have not. Some, of course, many have come in and they want a better life. I get that completely. But wait in line, like Arnold said, like everybody else. You want to come to the country, do it legally. And for people that say that Trump is some sort of xenophobe, racist, anti-immigrant, literally married one, Melania Trump, who, by the way, very interesting news I'm seeing here right now. So Melania's documentary, who everybody, as far as the left, said, oh, this is horrible. This thing's not going to make any money. the whole thing. Well, here's a little problem. Her documentary is now going to be one of the best opening documentaries we have seen in many years. As a matter of fact, Melania, the film, and I've met Melania, and we had maybe like a 2-minute conversation because we're at Mar-a-Lago and we're there for New Year's Eve. This is not this year, but the year before. And Mr. Trump, the president-elect at the time, really took like a shine to my wife, Jean, who, if you saw her, especially that night, just, dressed to the nines and looks like a young Courtney Cox. Great stuff. So he's chewing her ear off as far as like she's a doctor and a runner. And I think he wanted to hire her to be like the pool doctor at Mar-a-Lago, which would be an awesome job. So they're chatting back and forth. So then Melania and I are there and I'm like, oh, is that Versace? Wow, that's a great dress. I heard she was wearing Versace. So that was my opening line. Then we talked about Barron for a bit and just in general conversation that two parents have about their kids, not anything to do about the presidency or like, her being the first lady. I try to, keep it real to a certain extent because I think people like Melania or even the president for that matter, just want to be normal people, like not talk about themselves and who they are to the public, but, just being human beings in general. Anyway, Melania, the film, has the #1 opening in 10 years for a documentary. #1. A+ as far as cinema score from audiences. Critics hated it. Wow. Just like they hated the Reagan movie, but then audiences loved it. Same thing with Melania. I cannot stress enough. I have seen this. And here's the thing about this. And I'll leave here, Elias, because I know I got to go. Elias is my producer here today. She is so private. And she was, especially during the first term, because her son is so young, that she didn't want to be very visible as far as being a first lady, and that is understandable. So now in the second term, with Barron nearly 20 years old and basically now a young adult, a very mature adult, she feels that she could open up more about this spectacular ride that she has gone on over the last 10 years. And you're going to learn a lot about her that you didn't know before. She's not an open book. And that's what makes this documentary fascinating and a must watch. I'm not saying this because obviously I agree with the president on many things. I think that if I look at this objectively, I came from outer space and I watched this documentary on this person who is important, the first lady, I would tell you to watch this. So please do go to a movie. And if not, you can't. It'll be on streaming very soon, I am sure. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show.
When you want your spring break to feel like... and your kids' pool day to feel like... and your hotel bed to feel like... ooh, and room service to feel like... because at Hilton, hospitality feels like...
Your cabana's ready. Would you like fresh towels?
It matters where you stay. Book now at Hilton.com. Hilton, for the stay.
ABC's David Muir, the most trusted anchor in America, the most watched anchor in America. Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir the #1 newscast in America. Most trusted, most watched. David Muir on ABC.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. Yes. Dun, dun, dun. It's Easy Money. Easy Lover. I was thinking of the movie with Rodney Dangerfield I watched last night. Easy Lover. So Phil Collins did this back and forth with Genesis and then obviously did the solo thing. Each were highly successful and we're celebrating Phil Collins, Sir Phil Collins, as he's known in the UK. Celebrating his 75th birthday this weekend, along with, by the way, Gene Hackman, who I consider a top 5 actor all time, and Christian Bale, who you could make the argument will fade out of Phil. I'm not sure Christian Bale. No, actually, Elias. Boy, I made a connection there. There is a connection between Christian Bale and Phil Collins because during the movie, what was the movie where he was like the psycho killer? And then he kept playing Phil Collins before he killed everybody. Oh, I should know that. Elias, you got to help me out here.
American Psycho.
American Psycho, thank you. I mean, the movie came out in 2002, I think, so forgive me that it was nearly 25 years ago. But yeah, Phil Collins was like the death song before he killed his victims. Oh, I didn't even mean to do that. But yeah, Christian Bale, I get the whole argument around Michael Keaton, but Bale and those three movies, the first two particularly, and especially the second one, Dark Knight, that was the best of the Batman series, no question. Anyway, you know what also is the best right now? Investing in gold and silver. That's called a pivot because I'm sorry. Investing in gold and silver, that is called a pivot because they are surging. Gold recently hit $5,100 per ounce. We haven't seen levels like this before. Silver is also above $110, and with inflation, debt, global uncertainty rising, more investors are turning to physical gold and silver. Why wouldn't you? Some analysts are projecting gold towards $7,000 and silver above $300. We are talking huge return on investment. And if you want to learn what's driving this more, call Goldline. For my listeners only, get an exclusive discount on historic American gold coins. Call 1-800-757-GOLD. Mention me, Joe. That's 1-800-757-GOLD. Goldline. All right. So I got something to share here, and it really is, I don't know. It was the weirdest story of the week. And basically, it was where Ilhan Omar is doing a town hall in Minneapolis, and then this guy just walks up to her with no resistance whatsoever. You would think Ilhan Omar kind of, a very provocative figure. Obviously, I know a lot of you aren't big fans out there. We don't want to see anybody get hurt. Well, this guy comes up to her with a substance and almost like telegraphing a punch. He stands there for like a second, then sprays her with this unknown substance, right? So Terrence K. Williams does some research here. He's like an online journalist, we'll call him. He speaks to poison control. And what happened with Ilhan Omar was she got sprayed. She approaches the guy like she's going to hit him. And then the guy gets tackled. She goes back to the podium, says, "I will not be coward. There's no fear here," and continues her speech. Well, Terrence K. Williams, he goes to poison control and says, "Hey, what happens if you're sprayed with an unknown substance? What should you do? Here are the instructions. Get to fresh air immediately. Do not touch your face. Remove contaminated clothing. Rinse skin and eyes with running water for 15 minutes. Wash with soap and water. Seek medical attention right away and call poison control for guidance at their 1-800 number." She didn't do any of this. And it makes you wonder, why? That would be the first thing I would do. You say, "Oh, Joe, you're a wimp." I'm not a wimp. I may have just got sprayed with some sort of poison that could kill me or really hurt me. She went right back to the podium. So there are some people online that are saying, well, she didn't do anything on this list because it was staged. I don't know that, but boy, this was really weird. No question about it. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us today. This was an awesome show. As far as a Sunday morning, you're having your brunch, you listen to a little Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show, and we had a lot of fun today, and we will be back next week at Sunday, 11 a.m. or wherever this show is airing because it's nationally syndicated, just like my Monday through Friday show, 9 p.m. Eastern time here in the New York area. But again, it's all over the country. So wherever you listen to this podcast or this particular radio show live, thank you for tuning in. I'll be back next week, or at least tomorrow. Until then, 2 words for you. Bye-bye.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show.
The children of our nation know little to nothing about 9/11, but the Tunnel to Towers 9/11 Institute is righting this wrong by helping teachers educate kids in kindergarten through 12th grade. Their nonfiction first-person accounts are told through videos and the Discovering Heroes book series. The Institute offers full scripted curriculum units with background for teachers, a speakers bureau for classrooms, a mobile exhibit that's an interactive museum with 9/11 artifacts and FDNY guides. Donate $11 a month and amplify your impact by donating your car or land. Go to T2T.org.